All right, guys. So in this video below, you're going to see my exact real-time executions while I'm trading the New York market open session. Again, I do this every single day. If you want to see what this is like, to join, the link is in the description. You can also check out the social medias that are linked below. But a lot of free value is going to be provided here. I go over my exact pre-market game plan 15 minutes prior, what I'm looking at, how I'm looking to execute, where I'm looking to enter for both options and futures. I do both. Okay. So this applies to both realms of the coin here. And then on top of that, what we're also looking at is the trade management. How am I trimming? How am I scaling out of the trade? Where am I looking to take a reversal per se? Or where am I looking for continuation trades, right? Trying to give basically numerous call outs for the same trade for people who might not like to enter at the open. They want to wait 15 minutes for the market to set up. So I try to identify multiple setups as the day goes on, and you can start to see how an order flow trader trades the market. You can see where this 100% win rate comes from, and the 93% win rate for last year that was established with these recording videos. So be sure to subscribe, like, and put any questions you have in the comments below. I answer every single question. Put them below. Anyways, hope you guys like it. The biggest level we want to be concerned about is 25,210. All right. I want you guys to think of, oh, I've mismarked this. Hold on. Did I have 180? No. I'm going to switch these. Literally 25,208. This is a major aggressive 4-hour level. The market is extremely bounced there before. It's bounced extremely there before and rejected very hard after, once we did a break and retest of this. So just keep that in mind if we start getting up there today. But in terms for the watch list, I got a breakout for calls or for longs on watch at 25,088. Obviously, it's dumped aggressively in the last 5 minutes. That's okay. But that's where I'm watching to go long. That would also line up with 608.4, roughly right here. That would line up with 608.4 on QQQ. All right. Now, looking for weakness, I'm wanting to take an entry around 25,010 and or, well, this is off too, 607. I mistyped that. 607, basically. Should have just wrote 607. But it looks like that's going to be more like, hold on, let me readjust this really fast. Just a little bit below 25,040. I like the QQQ level more. 607.04. All right. So I'm going to use QQQ's level, 607.04 or 25,040. That's where that's lining up with roughly. Okay. So this is what I want to use. That's a 4-hour level. That's what I want to use there to determine if I'm going to go short or not, if we fail below this. All right. So in the pre-market, if we start to bounce this aggressively, that's a good sign. I could even look to take calls a little earlier. I don't have to wait till 25,088 if I'm seeing the right volume come in on those contracts. All right. Or 608.4. So something to keep in mind. Now, we should expect a pretty large moving week with all the news we have incoming. I posted the news for you guys in the analyst news updates. We have a lot of news this week. So just keep in mind, we have some January delayed data coming in as well. So pretty much a double whammy. The message I sent last night, do not. Some of you got discouraged last week not because you were taking losses. We don't have any real losses, but because you weren't capturing some of the large moves, right? I got a lot of messages that I can't reply because there's so many of them, but I'm getting a lot of messages that at least I'm reading them, right? Of people, James, man, I can't hold on to these trades. I don't know what to do. I'm selling for 20 points. I'm selling for 15. It runs for 100. It runs for 300, runs for 400. At some point, you will start holding them. Keep that in mind. You will start holding them at some point. But if you're expecting yourself to become extremely proficient in a few months' time, you are expecting a lot. The number one, the hardest battle you're going to have the first, I would say the first year to 3 years of day trading, the hardest battle you're going to have is going to be psychology. You are your own worst enemy when it comes to day trading. And some of you who have been trading for a while have already experienced that. You know, you can have a lot of advantages. You can have me giving you my information, my entries, my exits, my game plans. I can prep you for it prior, and the trade can still be fumbled, due to some fault of your own or not, right? It might just simply be, hey, something happened with the broker, nothing you can do about it. And that's where the consistent ability to be resilient and just execute your system is what is going to be the difference between a successful and a non-successful trader. But that statement still holds true. If you are showing up and expecting to become an incredible, profitable 6-7-figure trader in, let's say, a year, that is an insult to I would say, the 99.9% of traders that took them 3+ years to get there. So just keep that in mind. You want to be realistic. There's nothing wrong with having big dreams. You need big dreams, but we need realistic goals in order to accomplish the big dream. If all we have is big dreams, but we don't have realistic, attainable goals, then that dream will more than likely never come to fruition. Okay. And you'll more than likely give up. And you don't want to be that person that's in their 70s going, oh, I wish I did this. Because what's the worst that can happen, right? If day trading doesn't work, you just remain where you are. You stay at the job you have, you keep climbing the ladder of wherever you are, and you do your best in that realm. Okay. So just keep that in mind. All right. The rest of the watch list here. See, we're bouncing this 4-hour level. You guys see that? That's why I said, let's wait in the pre-market and just see what it wants to do. Tesla. I like Tesla for a possible breakout of 2 levels. I like 411.75 or I like 415.7. I like both of them. They're both solid. 411.75 is obviously riskier, much higher reward. 415.74, you're just relying on quite a bit of strength to push through the level. All right. Nvda, I want to watch a breakout at 185.21, which would realistically line up with the pre-market high, or a bounce of 183. I am rather bullish on the day for Nvda, especially if the market bounces. Okay, I'm bullish on Nvda. If we see these diverging at all, if I see SPY or QQQ, NQ, or NVIDIA, if any of them are diverging from each other, meaning if NQ is ripping, but SPY is weak and NVIDIA is weak, I am scalping, okay? If you notice that, if you see it happening and I don't voice it out loud yet, I am selling the majority of my position because all positions are more than likely going to chop if that's the case. I don't want to be a part of that, all right? And then Microsoft, I love this 406.76 breakout for calls on Microsoft. That's a really pretty level, especially with Thursday's rejection and Friday's slow climb up here. So I really like this breakout on Microsoft as well. Kind of similar to Apple's trade I gave you guys on Friday. It's a great key level. It's either going to absolutely rip straight through it or you're going to get stopped out right away. And those are some beautiful trades. Again, in order to avoid getting stopped out, if it's not going to rip through, watch the tape, read order book level 2, time and sales. You will see weakness, more than likely, not 100%, but more than likely you will see weakness at the level you're trying to enter. You'll see weakness on the tape and it will cause you to skip the trade. Okay. And if you see weakness and you skip the trade and the trade still works, hey, you never would have taken it anyway, right? There's no FOMO on something you never would have been a part of. So, all right. Okay. All right. Get our contracts and our broker unlocked here and ready to go. QQQ. I'm going to have the 609 calls. It's a beautiful bounce to that level, isn't it? And if we start to sell through, I'm going to have the 606 puts. Tesla, 420 calls. Microsoft, I do like 410 all the way to the 420 calls on Microsoft. Remember, if you're not paying attention, those are 0 DTE contracts. We no longer just have Friday expiration on some of these tickers, so please be careful when you're selecting your contracts. Because if you're doing 0 DTE, that means you're going to have roughly a 15 to a 20% stop loss. You are not going to be rocking a 10% stop. If you rock a 10% stop on 0 DTE, it's very that's very situational in my opinion. But you'll more than likely get stopped out every single time, unfortunately. Think about it. 10% happens like that on a 0 DTE, guys. That's why you see some of these QQQ trades we enter and we're trimming almost immediately because they happen very quickly. 0 DTE contracts are very aggressive. They make a lot of money, but they also lose a lot of money. So that's why the stop losses are extremely, extremely important. If you're new and it's your first day, feel free to watch. Feel free to watch. All right, so I have the 609 calls for QQQ and the 606 puts for QQQ. And keep an eye on the price at the open. Contracts have been pretty expensive lately due to the obviously increased popularity when it comes to day trading. So something you need to think about, okay? Don't just assume they're going to be $80 at the open. All right, got 10 seconds here. Remember, trade smart, trade safe. Anything I call out has roughly a 15% or 15-point stop loss unless I say otherwise. QQQ puts, I'm in these guys. I mean, QQQ puts, NQ shorts. These contracts are expensive. Fill on my shorts or my puts is $2.28 a contract. It's pushed here to 241 at 250 right here. I'm taking my first trim. Taking my first trim on this push down, guys. Beautiful trade so far. Absolutely beautiful trade. All right, putting my stop loss at entry now. Stop loss is at entry on my trade. We've shot up to 293 a contract. Absolutely ripped straight down. I'm majority out of the trade here. Taking my second trim here. Majority out of this trade on NQ, QQQ. What a gorgeous, gorgeous sell-off. That cannot get any better. What a massive winning day straight out the gate, huh? Absolutely beautiful. Who caught that? Who caught that? We are majority out of the trade already. We are already majority out of this. You should have sold the majority of the position with the entry at 40, roughly at that 40 area. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Orders hit the tape. We saw the failure of our level. We executed appropriately. That couldn't have gotten any cleaner, any better. What a way to start the week. Stop losses are now at entry, FYI. On the runner position, stop losses are at entry. 84 points profit. That's exciting. I'm so glad that happened. I'm not in anything else, sadly. I'm not in anything else. If you guys caught that trade, give me some emojis right now. I need to be better about these recordings. Give me some emojis if you caught that trade. All right, so we're 1 minute into market open. We caught this NQ short right off the open based on a failure of our watch list level and orders hitting the tape, level 2, NQ, 84 points profit. Absolutely beautiful trade. Everybody loves it. That's great to see. Great to see. All right. So remember, stop losses are at entry on this trade, guys. Stop losses are at entry. I basically just want to see if this can continue to sell. The only things I want to watch for possible reentries is if we can get a strong candle close. If this cannot close below this 4-hour key level, in terms of folks looking for a reentry, we got to be patient, okay? Because that means, look at NVIDIA's divergence. The breakout on NVIDIA worked beautifully as well, you know? So these could both come back to entry relatively quickly from the NVIDIA trade and the NQ trade. So we just want to be careful here because we're expecting one of these trades to end rather soon. All right, that's why we've taken the majority exit down here at 80 points. I'm not in NVIDIA, but if you were in NVIDIA, I would take the majority exit at the peak up here just in case. Tesla looks real weak here. I think Tesla's going to die. I don't have a downside play on Tesla. I was very bullish today on Tesla, but this is looking bad for Tesla. All right, contracts came back to entry. I'm stopped out at entry on QQQ, just like we thought we would be. So really good peak exit there on QQQ NQ. As of right now, it's trying to hold it at the tape. Oh, sorry, I moved a level. But I'm not trying to jump back in anything right now. I want to let this candle close. So if anyone's looking for a re-entry at my key level, you're wanting to take the second style entry, that's going to be totally on you. I'm a little bit cautious based on NVIDIA's strength, okay? If you're in on NVIDIA's breakout trade, the 185.21, if you're in on NVIDIA, again, I would be majority out of this trade as well. If it decides to keep pushing and the market recovers, I would be targeting that next 188 level. But for me personally, if I was in NVIDIA, I would have sold the majority. I would have stops at entry on runners. I would have sold the majority of your position. When I say majority, that means at least 3/4 of your position. That way, we're selling majority because we expect price to come back to our entry, so stopping us out. That way, you have realized the highest net ROI you can, while still leaving a little bit there to capitalize on the runners. If it does run, like if Nvda decides to keep running, you've left some there to take profit on, right? All right, here's the deal. Market strength is a little crazy here. Like I said, I want to wait for the candle to close. To me, I still think 88 is the only level you could try to go long because the market keeps rejecting basically its little pre-market high range it formed right here. So you guys see this area of interest, 25,079. I think the market's going to keep failing this level. So if I was you, I wouldn't be trying to go long whatsoever unless it actually confirmed above that little area of interest right here. Okay. We bounced also off the pre-market low. That's good to note on the on that first trade. Really good to note. Again, I want to see this candle close. It still looks like that's a pretty crappy close. It looks weak. If you want to take a re-entry, that obviously happens super fast right there. Like I said, though, I think as long as we stay below this zone, I would be biased towards shorts, basically the 608 level. Sting below 608 and sting below 25,078. Let me draw a little box here because this will be good for a learning point later on. How do I draw that again? Right here. As long as we stay below that, I think we will continue to just increasingly dump for the day. Okay. So obviously I would be heavily concerned with the massive wick bounce we had off of QQQ's pre-market low. And we blew through that 4-hour key level, luckily, which was very nice. But hey, we basically had a super aggressive bounce off of 958 and off of 605.08. So unless you miss the first trade, I wouldn't be rushing to get into another Q. Yeah. If you caught the first QQQ trade, I wouldn't be rushing to take another trade, i.e. me. I'm not rushing to take another trade. There's that second trim on Nvda. If you want to take your second trim up there, well, not second trim, you know what I mean? Another trim here and targeting 189 on Nvda. Nvda is well over 100% now, by the way. That's those 190 calls. Those 190 calls have gone from 42 cents a contract to $1.20 a contract. So that's massive, massive gains there on Nvda. SPY's not moving too well. Tesla's kind of just sitting flat. Bounce right off my 407.30 level. Microsoft has not even touched our level. I think the only way to see some real a real movement right now on NQ, QQQ is if we actually see a recovery play here, guys. I need to see an aggressive break at 88. These calls are expensive, though. You're going to be paying around $2 a contract for those calls, so keep that in mind. I'm personally very satisfied. I don't want to take this trade. I don't want to take it. I'm extremely satisfied with that market open trade. That was you can't see an 85-point trade that quickly, that cleanly off the open unless you're reading order book level 2 and time and sales. And that trade was absolutely beautiful. I don't want to ruin the vibe I got going here. I really enjoyed that trade. But that zone right here, again, unless we can break above the zone, I would want to stay away. Me personally, guys, if I was cash so far, if I hadn't taken a trade at all, 2 setups is breakout of 25,088, or this one I like a little more personally, just because of the price action that's happening right now. Because you could see a pretty aggressive breakout here. So if you're going to go long, this is your shot. Or a retest, 5-minute candle close. Let's say we come up to 126 and reject it. Then you can watch for the retest back down in 88. You've seen it happen 100 times. Okay. If you have the patience, good job, Jesse. If you have the patience, then just chill. There's no reason to take that breakout and possibly get faked out if you're not a fan of trading that way. This fits both styles of traders in here. So if you like breakouts, you have your setup. If you don't like breakouts, you like the break and retest. Wait for this minute and a half. Wait 1 minute and a half. We can all do that. and see if we reject this range. If we reject this range, then you've confirmed really that we're probably going to be weak on the day, and you can avoid calls altogether, and then you avoid a possible fake out, taking a breakout trade to the upside. So just something to keep in mind. Me personally, I would, if I was in this situation, I would rather wait for the 5-minute candle to close, see where we're at, just because that market weakness out the gate combined with an big engulfment right back into our range, that's a little scary. That is a little scary because it's kind of like the market's telling you it doesn't know where it wants to go out the open. And you have one of the biggest market cap companies in the world is pushing to the upside. You want to be a little cautious. All right. If you took the 88 break, I would be trimming now. I would trim half your position now if you took a break of 25,088. Otherwise, and I would have stops at entry. Otherwise, I would wait for the 5-minute candle close above this level, and you can look for the retest. In my opinion, it would be a really good, it doesn't look like we're going to get it, but a perfect retest would be us coming up to 25,126, rejecting it, coming back down in 88. That would be pretty textbook. So. All right. Yeah, we don't want to be machine gunner trades. Okay, so there it is at 126. Sorry, I haven't drawn this out. My bad. All right. If you're taking the breakout at 88, we would like to see now, again, your stops would be at entry. Now, what I would like to see, and you've gotten 45 points out of this, which is a really friendly breakout. That's the market's being very nice, giving that to everybody here. But this would be ideal if we can reject here and come back into basically between 103 to 88. That's where you want to start watching the tape for signs of buying pressure, for signs of orders at the ask. Then you can look to get in for a reentry for those looking for the break and retest. Nvda next target would be 190.58. Nvidia is definitely, the candles have glitched. The 190 calls, they've literally glitched. But again, you've gone from roughly $1.50 to from 40 cents a contract to about $1.50. So pretty big trade here. This is a 275% profit on Nvidia right here at this peak. If you're trading, obviously, today's expiration. All right, I would trim again. 60 points profit. I would take a second trim on the breakout trade, guys. We're just worried about this pre-market high area right here. Okay, I'm really worried about that area rejecting 609.73. So this is where I would take the majority exit on this trade personally. Last trade we took majority exit at 85 points. This trade would be roughly around 60 points, just because of the that level. We want to be cautious that level. It's more than likely going to reject. So that is 59 points. First trade was 85 points. Oops, not pots. And for anyone that's new, I just draw this out mainly so people have good journal references, because some people don't track this stuff. So also, an FYI, guys, when you're seeing this play out and you're looking to trade 0 DTE options and it's a little scary to you, you do not have to trade 0 DTE. Remember that. You can still trade Friday's expiration on Nvidia. You can still trade tomorrow's expiration on QQQ. You can trade Wednesday's expiration on QQQ. QQQ gives you daily options. So you can choose Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday expiration contracts. That means your contracts will move much slower. So when I see a 10% push, if you bought Wednesday's contracts, you might see a 6% push. Okay? But your stop losses should be somewhat mirrored. That doesn't mean you should stop out at 20% profit on a Friday expiration contract. Okay? Because that would be the equivalent of like a 60% stop loss on a 0 DTE. So, okay, we haven't exactly gotten this retest that well. It came close to 103, but we're looking for a bounce in this range between 103 to 88. He might be trying to bounce this early here. And trust me, guys, my main goal is always to call out my trades live, give the executions live, and give the reasoning behind my trades live. That way you can learn as much as humanly possible in the shortest amount of time, because I'm trying to save you your most valuable asset, which is time, your learning curve. I'm trying to accelerate that. But because I have some students that they will legitimately get upset about this. I do my best with looking for re-entry criteria, but you have to remember, if you're looking to get the performance that I am getting, that means you're taking my trades. I can't have you, getting upset if you're like, James, that re-entry idea you gave didn't work. I can't have you getting upset at me for that, being like, well, what the heck? You were green on the day and I was red because your re-entry idea was a no bueno. Look, doing my best, okay? If you don't want to deal with that, nonsense, then just take my trade. Just take my trade. So, but that's the most, I'm doing the most I can 100% of the time. Trust me. I give you guys 100% of me all the time. All right. Nvda, another trim spot. You're just going level to level here on Nvda. Okay. There's a lot of strength. This is more than likely news related at this point with Nvda, guys. I don't know what the news is unless it's going to tell me right here. Market's going to keep flying here. Everything's pushing up here. Tesla's ripping here from the 411 level. Big rejection here. Right at the next level too. That was 79 points profit. I ain't on QQQ. Guys, feel free to use my levels if you're in the trade without me, because I'm not giving, like super timely trims, basically saying where I would be selling at. But feel free to use my levels. You can see it's pretty much moving level to level on the charts, right? Look at Nvidia, look at NQ, QQQ, look at Tesla. Tesla bounced my 407 level, and now it's come up, busted through 411.75. So if you took that breakout, that's a nice little profit chunk. But look where it's meeting some resistance at 413. So, and look at SPY. Look where SPY is losing some momentum, right at 691.24. These levels are gold. These levels are gold. That's why I share this. That's why, to me, this is the most valuable thing right here. It's truly is the best part for you guys can see the most benefit. Microsoft, that 406 breakout, absolutely beautiful there as well. Let me go ahead and draw this out just for our recording, basically. Pretty much every trade idea I gave has worked tremendously. So, and for those that are new, again, I like to have stops at entry sometimes after the first trim, definitely after the second trim. On Friday's trade, this last Friday, some students were able to hold much longer than I was because I got my second trim and I got stopped out at entry on our QQQ calls NQ longs trade on Friday. And it just came and tapped our entry and took off. And I said it. I said, guys, this stopped me out, but it still looks beautiful if you want to re-enter or hold, but it still looked beautiful. And practicing my discipline, that was my third trade of the day. I had to stop. And sure enough, it took off. It absolutely took off. So nothing I can do about that. That's my system. That's what I follow. That's what's got me all this. So it would be foolish to veer from that, right? All right. Nvidia is at its next profit target. There you go. 191.83 on the Nvidia 190 calls. They've hit 299 a contract from 40 cents a contract. Absolutely rocket. For anyone that's in Nvidia, give your profit percentage right now. You don't have to say how much money you made, but give your profit percentage. That's incredible. That's roughly what I'm seeing is roughly 650%. If you got 40 cents on the fill on the 190 calls. That's absolutely crazy. 650% profit is what I'm seeing. These last two candles basically nuked this from $2 a contract to $3 a contract. So, well, 175, and now it's at 330 a contract. It's just going to keep flying here. The market should move with this. This is probably going to be the biggest trade an options trader would see all week. I'm assuming is this Nvidia trade right here. This is absolutely huge. All right. So you're at 92-ish points here. Of course, I didn't draw it out on the recording. 5,089. 95 points profit. Currently, this is another trim area at 183 and at 610.60. You should be able to tap 100 points here. That 25,208, that is the aggressive level. So this area, just keep in mind, this 4-hour key level up here probably would line up with 610.99 area. This is where I'm anticipating the market to reject rather heavily. So keep that in mind for those of you in your long positions, because the market could sell off quite aggressively here. Dude, Nvidia is it's not going to stop. You guys are going to see 1,000. That's 1,000% right here. That's 1,000% profit. That is crazy. On the further out contracts, they're 1,000%. Oh my goodness. This is ridiculous. I want to see what the 190 calls did on this. Hold on. So the 190 calls. That's absolutely incredible. Yeah. And honestly, entry could have even been around, it would have been between like 35 to 40 cents on the entry. That is crazy. That is crazy for Nvidia, dude. It was 21 cents at the low, but that's over 1,000% profit on Nvidia, guys. Remember, we are expecting that harsh rejection, right? We're expecting it big time here. All right. Christina, a win is a win. That's really good on you. Remember, it's kind of like what I said earlier about FOMO, right? All right, let's look at the key rejections that are happening so far. What did we expect to happen? We were talking about a harsh rejection coming up. We also expected SPY around this level, 691.25 to reject. We said it was losing steam. Look what happened when it was losing steam, right? Literally dumped perfectly right from our level on SPY. For those of you that are ES SPY traders, textbook rejection. Tesla, not a textbook rejection. We were expecting more out of Tesla, obviously. Unfortunately, this would have come back and stopped you at entry on Tesla. But still not a bad trade on Tesla, though, right? That was a pretty solid trade on the push up there. You would have almost seen 100% profit, almost on Tesla. That would have been around 85% profit. What about in the Q&A? I'm not sure who's asking Q&A questions on an iPad because I don't see your name, but whatever I give out on the watch list, that's what I've gone over. That's what I've watched. My watch list is not only options, Antonio. NQ is futures. You only need to trade one thing on futures. Just get good at one thing before you try to expand. So if you're starting out with futures or you're starting out with trading, you're looking at NQ or ES. Do not complicate it and try to branch out to other stuff. You will just end up getting burned. It's too much to focus on. You want to get used to one ticker's movements, its patterns, its behavior, its volume, its volatility. There are so many factors that go into the market. It would be like if I said, hey, let's do a full body workout every single day all the time. Your body can't handle that. It's not going to be able to recover properly. However, if you showed up in the gym and we identified, hey, your lower body is the weakest, like you got weak glutes, weak hamstrings, it would be more beneficial for us in this moment in time to focus on glutes and hamstrings. And then let's go into tomorrow. Okay, what else are you weak at? Your posterior is weak, your back and your shoulders. Okay, tomorrow let's focus on back and shoulders. And then over time, I'll create a much more well-rounded, strong, healthy body. But if you showed up every single day and did full body workout every single day, we're not really excelling in anything. And at the same time, our entire system is suffering, right? Same concept applying to trading. If you're an options trader and you're trying to trade 6 different stocks every single day, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. You're going to take a lot of losses. But if you just focus on one, if you're like, all right, I'm trading options. I like trading QQQ. Once I'm good at QQQ, I'll branch out and trade Tesla a bit. Or once I'm good with Nvda, I'll branch out and trade QQQ a bit, stuff like that. So now this was a beautiful day. I do, if other trading groups, that was actually more. That was awesome. These other trading groups that say they wait for a long time and they don't take a trade, no hate against them. It's just not my style, right? I'd rather catch these beautiful trades with you guys. I'd rather help you guys make your money right away and get you guys on your day. I hate seeing traders sit around all day. Every single one of you, Haven, John, Kevin, Christina, Luca, Jesse, all you guys. I want to get you out of here as soon as possible with money in your hands and knowledge in your brain. That's my goal. You learned, you made money, you got your time back. That's my goal. That I think it completely defeats the purpose if we sit here for 3 hours. It really defeats the purpose. Are there moves that happen 3 hours later? Yeah, I'm sure there is almost every single day. But the whole point is, why sit around that long? You have a life. I want you to get to it. You don't want to sit here and look at my ugly face for that long. Okay. Here's the deal with what the market's doing right now. We have that aggressive rejection. We were almost pretty spot on QQQ. We were definitely pretty far away, like maybe 20 points away from that rejection. But SPY was pretty spot on. Everything else started to reject here with the market. I would personally, I want to see where this 5-minute candle closes because, yeah, it's trying to bounce kind of close to where the entry was. It's trying to. But this could be, it could just come back into the range and kind of consolidate all day. And you don't want to be a part of that if it does that, right? Nobody wants to be a part of consolidation. All it does is hurt you in the long run. So we're going to watch this 5-minute candle close to see if there's possibly any other setups. And if there's not, then we're going to leave that where it is. We don't want to mess with that. We need to stay above 136, in my opinion. In my opinion. It would be a little premature, a little early for you to go long at this 136, I think, because there's still a good probability it just rejects and comes into the range. But if this 5-minute candle can close above 136, then we can look for that, quote unquote, bounce, retest. Do you guys remember what I was talking about earlier? See you guys later. Yeah, have a good one. Do you guys remember what I was talking about earlier on the breakout of 88? So you guys remember when I said, hey, you can, once we get above to 126, you can watch for price to come back into the 103.88 range to bounce. What has this done if this was a separate trade? It's bounced. It's bounced that range perfectly. What if it came down right to here and you're like, oh, look, it's not going to tap 88. Let's say you took your entry at 103 for that bounce. Look how high of a profit you got on that. That's 46 points on that bounce. So, and you would have entered with a 15-point stop loss, which, what does that line up with perfectly? A failure of the level. Pretty beautiful, right? These setups, they work. I'm telling you, they work. You don't always have to take the breakouts. Many times those break and retests work, and you'd be surprised. Now, obviously, as you saw on that bounce, you got to be aggressive with it. You got to be watching and waiting and ready. So just something to keep in mind. But my break and retest idea of bouncing within that 88 to 103 range, beautiful, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And obviously, this would have worked if you took it the bounce at 103 on the way down and went into drawdown. And obviously, it would have worked if you took the bounce on the way back up, right? So pretty cool to see that play out as well. All right, we got a minute and 40 here till this candle closes. Guys, any question? Not sure if anyone took Microsoft. I was able to get it right off the watch list. 50% stopped out. Hey, that's a good that's a great trade. Great trade, JPD. Any questions, guys? Go ahead and give them to me. Any questions? If you want to ask a question privately, on the Zoom screen, wherever I am, you can blow it up and you'll see a prompt area that says chat. The chat's closed, but you can type in Q&A. Q&A, no one else sees it but me. So if you have to send something private, or you can DM me as well on Circle. I don't ever share people's DMs from Circle. So I really value your privacy if you have any questions. But ask me your questions, please. I even have people that ask me fitness questions, so I don't care. Whatever I can help with. I would have the stop at entry, just FYI, if that wasn't clear. If you took that bounce, I would have that stop at entry. I'm putting Nvda back on a 5-minute here. All right, so look at SPY. SPY is also respecting the 690.19 level. You guys see that? So we are a little worried now. We might just consolidate the rest of the day. Remember, the market does not have to move, guys. It doesn't have to move. Look at Apple. Apple's, how crazy is that? We're not even watching Apple. We just come check it out and look at the level it's respecting. Just respecting one of our levels. Levels are gold. Levels will help you tremendously with getting good trades. Starting with futures and not options, just to lower your risk. Just to lower your risk. A standard options trade, let's say you took the trade this morning. All right, let's say you took this trade this morning. Let's say you bought 10 contracts. Okay, QQQ 606 puts. 10 contracts, you would have spent roughly $2,000. $2,000 on the 606 puts, which with a 15% stop loss means your stop, you would have been risking $300 on one trade. One trade. You would have been risking $300. Now, let me break this down into Take Profit Trader, great prop firm where you can get same-day payouts. There's very minimal rules. They don't really play any games. That's $100 per account. With a $100 account, you could make, realistically a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 a month, depending on your success rate. And that's just with $100. And that's you could probably make one prop account maybe last a month. It could last you a whole month because you'd probably pass or fail it within the month. So that goes a long way. So the $300 you would have risked on one trade on one day, that $300 could last you 3 accounts, so 3 months of trading with futures. So now you see when you're looking at it from a learning perspective, you're spending $100 to buy an account to trade futures to learn and hopefully make money, but you will learn no matter what. You are learning so much more for your $100 as opposed to your QQQ trade where you could lose $300. And here's the kicker. If you're a beginner, you're more than likely not going to learn from that loss. You are more than likely just going to say, wow, I lost $300. That sucks. Or, wow, I lost $300. James sucks. Right? You're more likely going to do one or the other. So that's why I think futures is really beneficial for people starting out. I think you can learn a lot. Even if you have a lot of money, guys, you can learn a lot from prop firms. And then the other prop firm I work with, Apex, it's even cheaper. You're paying like $18 to what? $30, $40 per account. I mean, there's a pretty aggressive learning curve with trading. So it's definitely worth your time. For those of you that think it's not worth your time, I guarantee you we could, or not guarantee, but I promise you probably could save a lot of money if you put options to the side when you first start and just stick with futures. Ask anyone in here that started with options. I'm telling you, anyone who's traded options, they are more than likely negative P&L unless they stuck with it for about 3+ years and were able to come out on the profitable side. But most people I know that started out trading options, they're still negative trading options. It's very, very difficult. It's not easy whatsoever. Okay, so here's the deal. We obviously didn't get the 5-minute candle close above 136. I unfortunately do think this is just going to kind of come back into the range and consolidate. So I don't think this is worth trying to trade anymore today. Ironically, really the only 2 trades you could have got were the trades we took, right? So far, at least so far. So, and all of our watch lists, all of our watch list game plans, they all worked out relatively well. I don't know what the ROI was on Tesla unless someone took this and they can tell me, but I have no idea what this would have looked like on Tesla from the watch list. Same thing with Microsoft. I saw someone said 50%. I saw some other people say around 60%. First day, made 800 on 2 top step accounts. That was so quick. But with your levels and conviction, I took my entry. Good job. Good job. All right, I'm just seeing a lot of profits. I was looking more so for questions. For experienced traders, what edge specifically does your bootcamp focus on at the advanced levels? Order book level 2 and time and sales. Today's my first day back home. So after I have a lot of calls today. Once I'm done with those, I'm going to be uploading some order book level 2 data in there, just more live examples where you hear me call out the trade and you see the data move. I hate to sound cliche, but I'm not trying to hide anything. Order book level 2 and time and sales. Just reading volume footprint. Those of you that use Bookmap, using volume session profile, all these things, they really do make a tremendous difference with ticking your entries. Okay. Reading good price action. I want you to think if you were trading on your own, or if you're looking to get literally the exact same entry as me, or even maybe even enter before me, it all comes down to reading the tape, reading the volume. Reading the volume is what's going to give you that edge. Vincent, yep, I have all of that in my community. Guys, you guys just need to educate yourselves before you trade, okay? You just got to educate yourselves before you trade. God, this is super strong now. Not a fan of chasing here, but a break and retest above this could be a pretty nice setup. What I mean by I'm not a fan of chasing is I don't like taking breakouts of this price action. You will more than likely get stopped out trying to take breakouts of stuff like this. You know, you formed a high over here, could be a little scary. It did end up bouncing that 103 just perfectly. But before this 5-minute candle absolutely nuked, it just looked like it was going to consolidate. So I kind of have the same criteria up here. If you can see a 5-minute candle close above 168, which would also be a 5-minute candle close above 610.20, and then a retest of that, that could be a nice setup for longs. Not a fan of taking breakouts of this though, because you will more than likely just get, you'll become liquidity. It'll pull back somewhere, bounce again, and then it works, right? But SPY is definitely strong. SPY ended up bouncing 690.9, and now it's trying to do a breakout here of 691.24. So I could see SPY rejecting 691.60 all the way to pre-market high. So this 20-cent range, I could see SPY rejecting this range, coming back down, and then you could possibly get that retest. But your Vincent, this is a very simple video. Any broker is the same way, Vincent. Again, this is why I think it's good for you guys to trade futures. You could have avoided this altogether. He said he entered puts with $880. First time using Webull Turbo Trader. So your first time using a function should not be with real money. You should have done this paper trading. He was up $350. He couldn't exit. You got stopped out. Do I have a video on how to take profits on Turbo Trader? Yes, but you guys, please, you need to be smart about this. Would you ever risk $880 without knowing how to exit the position? The answer would probably be no. You probably just got excited and took the trade. So make sure you do your due diligence. If you're not used to a platform, in my opinion, that's what paper trading is really good for. The fills and everything, they're not real. Like it's all very delayed from what I've heard. So don't expect that to translate into the real-time trading. Real-time trading is very quick. Okay. The fill is almost instantaneous, but at least you'll know how to enter a position and how to exit a position. That's very important. Anytime you, and any broker, if you enter a position with a stop loss and a take profit set, you cannot sell anything because you have sub orders placed. And the broker has already agreed that it will not sell unless it hits this or sell unless it hits this. All right. That's the beauty of Webull. If you're freaking out, you can just hit the flatten button and it will sell everything. And also the beauty of Webull is you have a visual of the chart on your right. So you can just drag your stop loss to break even and see if it'll hit your profit target. That way, at least you don't lose money. But that's very unfortunate. You shouldn't have lost any money today. Very, very unfortunate. All right. Oh, sorry. I'm just seeing this. Still holding a micro. That was at 858. Okay. So somewhere around here. Sorry. I'm trying to get to where you are. So you're holding a micro at 858, which was right here. Well, if you're still in this, really, the gaps are so annoying. Here's the deal. This is where I thought it would reject extremely hard earlier, 25,208. But the market's strong. It would be foolish to try a rejection of this level. I think you just hold that thing. Hold it. I would place a trailing stop. I would place a trailing stop at 25,159. That's where I would have a trailing stop loss and profit. 25,159 and or 609.98. You would be looking for 25,168 or 610.20 to hold as support if we do come back down. All right. 30% on Tesla. That's a shame. Thought it would have gotten you a little more. I kind of believe it though, because Tesla's getting chopped up. I can see the premiums on both sides getting a little bit wrecked today because it's not really picking a direction. No, Anthony, I can't give tax advice. I'm not a CPA. You got to remember, I can't give financial advice and I can't give tax advice. All I can do is tell you what I do. From what I understand, from what people in here do, yes. If you go through the appropriate steps, this would all be you talking to your CPA. But yes, you can pretty much write off any cost that is realistic and regular for your business. Buying a prop firm in order to day trade for your business, that is a realistic and normal expense. I don't think in a court of law, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. So now, if you've made $30,000 from day trading and you go buy a G-Wagon saying that's a regular expense, you will probably get burned. So don't be one of those guys. Don't be the guy that makes $10,000 that year trading SPY and then puts thanks SPY on your Lamborghini Urus. Don't be that guy. Not only are you a hypocrite, but that would never hold up. That would never hold up. It has to be a regular expense for your business. Okay. So we've gotten a strong 5-minute candle close. I'm just waiting to see if this can pull back for a retest entry for some of you. Again, remember, I would want to see a retest of 168 or 610.20. Really, I want to see a retest of this high area. So I would want to see a retest of this. That's what I would want to see a retest of. If we can get a retest of that little zone, that to me is what would be a pretty nice, entry spot. You don't want to be paying the peak. You don't want to be buying calls at a resistance level, right? This is a resistance level, this 4-hour key level up here. You don't want to be buying calls up here and absolutely getting smoke checked. It did end up going over 100 points, which is nice. That's 120 points. Whether you held the original trade or whether you got in on the bounce area down here, I mentioned multiple times. One or the other is really good. If you took, or no, actually, you might not be at 100 if you took the bounce. Yes, you are. You're at 100. It's just 20 points less. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. But yeah, we're not trying to take calls up here because this is a resistance spot. We're expecting the market to reject, just like what it's doing right now. Beautiful. Okay, now we're looking for this bounce. It's got to bounce aggressively. There we go. Give us the bounce. There we go. If it can clear 190, it should start taking off. If it can clear 25, 190, that can be your determining factor if you want to take a scalp of this or not. This is 190. We need to see it move quicker. It's got to move faster. It's got to move faster. This needs to flip green now. Otherwise, it's just going to die. It's just going to die. I'm letting you know right now. If we cannot clear 25, 190, this is going to be a very short-lived bounce. Okay? Flip green for us. Flip green. Come on. For those that are new, I'm talking about this candle. I want to see this candle flip green relatively quickly. What it shows is super aggressive buyers. That's what that shows. When we can have a massive bounce like that occur and flip green and start to continue, you're showing immediate buyers taking control. There we go. It's not happening as fast as I would like. Like this is not a textbook. I wouldn't expect this to go another 100 points, but hey, it worked, right? Patience paid off, okay? You guys saw how that patience paid off? I literally that was a pretty clear explanation. We're expecting a rejection of 208. We're not trying to enter calls down here. We're looking for the market to come back into this zone. When the market comes back into the zone, we're looking for it to bounce. Boom, you got your bounce. Absolutely beautiful little execution there. All right. What calls are you buying for QQQ? These are all old questions, but yeah, I think I just answered all of them. Just always usually call them out in the pre-market. How often should I be exercising? Well, depends on your goals. I think at least 4 times a week. For every single person out there that's under the age of 70, I would say 4 times a week to be healthy. There should be some form of strength training. All right, look at that. Another beautiful re-entry / bounce setup. So really, really solid trade there. SPY ended up doing the same thing. What did SPY do, guys? We talked about it. We talked about SPY going up to pre-market high and rejecting. That's exactly what it did in combination with NQQQQ selling through its level. We watched for that retracement back into this 182 to 174 range. Then we got that aggressive bounce. Candle flipped green. We've got that good push to the upside here now. So you've seen a bounce from 174 up to 214, roughly 40-point bounce. Beautiful, beautiful execution. And now we have continuation on this trade. All right, the next 4-hour level I would be watching for personally is 25,277. So we're going to skip all of these and go up here. 25,277. That would be 188 points profit. So that's what we're looking for, okay, for the continuation. You got that beautiful retest. And now we're wanting to see a pretty big move out of this to the upside. Gosh, so many trying to read through all these, sorry. Hmm? All right. Anytime I trade anytime I trade zero DTEs, when it comes to like Nvda, Tesla, Apple, all these stuff, you want to have a really big take profit and you want to have roughly 15 to a 20% stop loss. On Friday, that Apple trade I was, lining up for you guys. I mean, I just told you that was my favorite setup and I was really looking forward to that. That was a really clean breakout setup. Obviously, that trade got handed to all of us on a silver platter. But yes, I just entered with a 20% stop loss and 100% take profit. And unfortunately, it hit my 100% take profit about 2 seconds. Happened right away. So not much I can do about that, but I'll take it every single time because it was a Friday. Why would I not take that? It was a Friday. I was on vacation. I, buying stuff for all my best friends. Like to me, I viewed that Apple trade paid for all of my friends' gifts that I got. Literally every single gift I bought, it paid for everything. QQQ basically paid for the flights and the hotel almost, and then that paid for all the gifts. So it was a beautiful trade. Beautiful. For the amount of joy I saw on my friends' faces to have that paid for in 2 seconds is a blessing. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Well, I'm not seeing many other questions in here. Trying to make sure I've seen them all. No, actually, that was the hotel, guys. I did not bring that monitor with me. I had my portable monitor. I had a bigger one than this. This is a pretty tiny one. So I had a bigger one than this. This is like a our Zopa one. Just really tiny, can fit in a backpack pretty well. But no, it failed. He came up to help me out because he plugged in an Ethernet cord for me. He custom made an Ethernet cord so it would reach my computer, my laptop. So I was getting like the Wi-Fi was pretty good where we were. It was like 250 megabytes per second. So the Wi-Fi was great. But the Ethernet port, I was getting like 800 megabyte download speed. And then on top of that, my monitor crapped out, the portable monitor. So he brought up a brand new in the box. It was the 34-inch ultra wide Scepter monitor. Just busted it out, brand new for me. The hotel. I was like this, and he was the IT manager. So I'm assuming he just had an extra one in storage or something. But I was like, what? You just have one of these lying around, and he was like, no worries, no worries. You just enjoy yourself. And I tried to tip him. He wouldn't let me. I said, can I at least pay you? He's like, no. He said, you can pay me by enjoying yourself. So that was really nice because no, I do not. I would obviously not travel with a 34-inch ultra wide monitor. How much did that hotel cost? It was about $30,000 for Thursday to Sunday. It's very nice. It's very comparable to the St. Regis. Pretty much the same thing. We got a residence. So if you're trying to travel with your friends and you don't want to be split up in hotel rooms, what you want to look for is it's called a residence. A residence will either usually be owned by an individual that consignment, like rents it out through a hotel, a nice hotel. That way you get all the service, all the nice bougie stuff, but that's what you're looking for. Best way to view the level 2 data would be having a Webull broker, in my opinion. I think Webull shows it the best. Of all the brokers you can watch it on, I think Webull will show it the best. So I do think it's rather crucial, though. Some form of volume, some form of reading volume. Very, very crucial. Nice, Reese. That's awesome. Yes. Chad, I mean, look at this trade. How else would you get up here unless you hold on to it, right? I would hold on to it. Wonderful job, guys. 1% better every single day. Make sure you go outside, get some sun, get some, be healthy the whole nine, and make sure you journal everything you did right and everything you did wrong today. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Peace out, everybody. Stay blessed.